So often on this show, I'm like, how can I just do a show with my friends and just chat with them? And today I think that I have solved that very well. I want to welcome to the program Mitch Little. You saw him last on the News and Why It Matters, and he was Paxton's defense attorney. That's why you were on. Now you are, of course, Republican nominee for my district.
Mission accomplished. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so glad that you're here, along with, of course, Nate Schatzline, who is a representative in the Texas House, and Brian Harrison, who is also a representative in the Texas House. And I'm quite confident that none of you, usually when I have someone here, I'm like, can I call you my friend? I think I asked you that, Nate. I'm
yes,
like, I'm
absolutely.
controversial, but we're all super controversial, according to the rhinos. So we're all friends here.
This is a polarizing table.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I do want to point out to the audience, if you guys have seen, I burned the crap out of myself with my curling iron. So I have this ridiculous thing on. And also I got an airbrush tattoo of a cat with my kids this weekend.
Nice.
It's not real.
Airbrush.
I don't want to start any rumors like Sarah got a cat tattoo over the weekend. It comes off. Okay. So I wanted you guys to come on, hang out with me for the rest of the show. But I want to first talk about the contract with Texas. And what it is, because I know there are a lot of you who have signed on to it. You guys being in the Texas House have signed on to it. You, hopefully very soon will be, of course, in the Texas House as well. And I want to talk about what it is and what the response has been around it. Brian?
The response from Republican voters across the state has been overwhelming. It's been positive. It's been full of appreciation and gratitude. They have wanted something like this for years.
Yeah.
And, let me tell you, you asked what it is. I think at its core, it's us saying to the voters of Texas, we hear you. Mm-hmm. We understand what you told us in last month's primaries, and we're going to fight for you. In a time when the country's going to hell and every freedom and liberty and core tenet of our constitutional system of divided government is under attack, when the next generation is on the line, people will want, and they have a right, they rightfully question whether anybody in government listens to them anymore. Mm-hmm. We are saying we side with you, the voters of Texas, against the corrupt dysfunction of the liberal Austin swamp.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you guys are promising to accomplish?
Well, I think ultimately we start with the premise that it's not business as usual.
Right.
That's over. The primary showed, oh my goodness, Texas is done with the way the Texas House has been operating ever since. They're done with Dade Phelan. Mm-hmm. They're done with his leadership style, and they're done with the current leadership team. And so really this document was formulated with a lot of the freshmen coming in, with other members that have come together and just said, hey, look, what's it going to look like to be able to hold Republicans in the Texas House accountable to actually fulfilling the promises that the GOP wants us to fulfill, to actually hear the voices of the grassroots and make their voices heard. And so every single one of the 12 bullet points is built around total reform of the Texas House and what we're looking for in a speaker, for leadership, down to how they operate in the body. Mm-hmm. And, Mitch kind of was one of the founders of this idea. And it was powerful when he came in, and really this whole group of incoming freshmen simply said, hey, we campaigned off of no more business as usual. So we're not just going to go with the flow. Mm-hmm. When we become the Republican elect, we're going to go in and we're going to change things. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think Mitch coined the term.
Yeah, we flipped a table that needed to be flipped. You look at the halls of power in Texas, and too long they've been outside the control of the voters, the people like you and me who live in our district, who say, why can't we just seem to get the things done that the voters want us to get done? And what has been remarkable has been the response both inside and outside of the building. Without naming any names, there are a lot of people who look at the contract with Texas and they scratch their head and go, you know what, I agree with a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll sign it after the runoffs, or maybe I'll sign it after November. I'm telling you, Sarah, there's a time for courage. This is the time for courage. And it seems to be gaining some unprecedented momentum.
It's funny. We were sitting here off air and I said, I wanted to talk to you guys about this, first and foremost, because I wanted other states to hear about it and think maybe this could be a framework for them. And you guys, I think, rightfully responded, other states don't actually have to go to these links because they're just getting things done. And then I got depressed again.
and here's the best part is it starts to be depressing, and then you realize, wait a second, we have people that are actually going to go in and do this. Never, no elected body that's Republican represented in the United States gives power back to the minority party like we do, electing Democrat committee chairmen over powerful committees to kill Texas GOP priorities. That's what Texas has been doing, and it's absurd.
Yeah. And most people don't know about it. That's the way they get away with this type of corruption, is that there's been no transparency. It's literally the equivalent as, imagine it with Speaker Mike Johnson. If he had come into power, taken the speakership in Washington, D.C., and the first thing he did was turn around and make Nancy Pelosi chairman of Ways and Means, or AOC, let her run Energy and Commerce. I mean, not one Republican in the country would tolerate that.
Right.
But that's exactly what we live in the cesspool of the Austin swamp. And there's nothing, quite frankly, I think Sarah and I've been honored to fight in the swamp of D.C. for the last 2 Republican presidents. There is nothing swampier than elected Republicans or candidates who say they're Republicans promising their voters, please vote for me. I will fight for you against the liberal Democrats. But then the second they get elected, they vote not just to empower those liberal Democrats, but then they collude with them to destroy liberty for the next generation. The voters of Texas, their eyes are open like never before. And we're going to finally, I hope prayerfully, we're going to put an end to this.
So upending Democrat chairs. Okay. What else? What else are we upending? What else are we setting on fire? Tell me.
Yeah, the leadership proposition. I think what we need to do, another major reform that we hope to enact with the contract with Texas, is term limiting the speakership and preventing the speaker from really distributing political funds to certain members to kind of consolidate power. I think, Sarah, one of the hidden things about the legislature is leadership for a long time in Texas has really benefited from how opaque the legislative process is. And now that it's the year of our Lord 2024, we have video camera and audio almost everywhere. You can see how some of the sausage is made. And what Texans see, they really don't particularly like. And so when you look at the primary elections are a referendum on the Texans' observations of what's going on in the legislature. They want change. Those are a couple of things that are important. I'm sure Nate and Brian have some things they want to talk about.
And I'll just say this. I mean, we look at every 2 years, our GOP platform, we create a list of priorities, whether that's 8 or 12, whatever it may be. You would think that this would be so easy for a Republican-led legislature, whether it be 86 members in comparison to the 150 in total, to come in and just say, hey, we're going to get these things done, non-negotiables. This last session, not only did we not complete these small list 8 to 12 GOP priorities, but we passed, get this, Sarah, over 500 Democrat priority bills. Insanity.
That's disgusting.
How did we do that? How did we grow government at a record rate? How did we do these? The reality is there's been no transparency. And so we're demanding in this contract that before one Democrat bill comes to the House floor for a vote, we are going to take a vote on all of our GOP priorities. That's an easy thing for a speaker to come in and say, yes, we're going to do this. In fact, in other states, that is common practice. This is something that's already done. And, we've been accused of being, disunifying with this. The reality is we're unified with the grassroots. I don't know who else everyone else wants to unify with.
Right.
We're unifying with our voters. That's who we're unified with.
No, I think the contract is the most unifying initiative that's come out of the Texas House in the last generation. And one of the points that both Mitch and Nate kind of hit on a little bit, but I think merits slightly more discussion, is the big problem of taking power from a centralized figure in the speaker. People use this term all the time in Texas politics. There's the big three: the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker. The big three is nowhere in our Constitution. The governor's elected by people across the whole state of Texas. Lieutenant governor's elected statewide. The Speaker of the House is somebody that until very recently nobody even knew who they were. It was supposed to be a servant to serve the members so that they could effectively represent their 200,000 Texans. Now, all that has to happen is the corrupt liberal special interests. They don't have to persuade Representative Little or Representative Schatzline that their position is the right one. All they have to do is buy one vote, because if the speaker wants something to pass, it passes. If the speaker wants something to die, it dies. And look no further than this. Nate talked about there were only 8 Republican Party of Texas issues that they asked us to do. The failed liberal leadership of Dade Phelan and his team said, no, we are going to deny those 8. We won't even let you vote or even debate most of them, but we're going to put 500 Democrat bills on the floor. That's what Dade Phelan wants. And speaking of secrecy, he was able to get 60 Republicans to vote to impeach our Attorney General with less evidence and due process than third world kangaroo courts. If Dade Phelan and his failed liberal leadership team could do that under the cloak of darkness at night in full secrecy and get 60 Republican votes, Dade Phelan could have passed every single one of the Republican Party of Texas priorities. He didn't want to, and that's why they died. We've got to give power back to the members because by giving power back to the elected officials, the individual members, that's how we empower Texas.
There was an impeachment? I feel like
You might have heard something. That was my softball over to you, Mitch. Take it away.
That's so funny. It's funny because you talk about some people accusing you of being disunifying, which is just hilarious to me because I keep saying, and this again, when I am with representatives, I try to make sure to delineate. This is Sara Gonzales' opinion, not y'all's. But I don't really want to have bipartisanship with a party that is as radical as the current Democrat Party, right? Like, I don't want to compromise with a party who wants abortion up until the point of birth, who wants, Israel wiped off the map, who wants all of these radical things. I'm like, I actually think bipartisanship is a bad thing at this point. Sure, call me disunifying. I don't really care.
There are major philosophical differences between our party and the Democrat Party.
Right.
And that's normal. That's to be expected. The thing that is so broken, or historically, in my observation, has been so broken about the Texas House, is Republican leadership is saying, hey, Brian, you should go through those people we have those philosophical differences with to get what you want.
Right.
That's the error in judgment.
Right. Yeah. Right. Nate, go ahead.
Spot on. I think looking at the current, social Marxist leftist Democrat Party, we're forced to negotiate with people who want to mutilate children.
Right.
People don't understand that.
Right.
And so you're telling me that the ideology is I'm okay with mutilating children, creating a scenario where we literally chop off healthy body parts. And by the way, you've got to go through them to make any changes to the government school program.
Right.
Hey, by the way, you've got to go through them who want to socially transition kids, who want to abort children on demand. The reality is we had a chairwoman that I sat on the committee with who has a 100% rating from Planned Parenthood that even Mothers Against Greg Abbott didn't choose to endorse in her Senate race. And yet Dade Phelan chose to empower her as a Democrat committee chair. Yeah. That's a broken system. I should not have to go through someone who wants abortion on demand to get a bill passed in the Texas House for a GOP priority. It's insanity.
Yeah. And they want to pretend that by us saying, hey, the Republicans gave you the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor's office, every statewide office, both chambers of the House and the Senate. What they try to say is we're divisive by saying Republicans should lead in a Republican-dominated body, as if that is necessarily bipartisan. We can have discussions all day about bipartisanship in 2024 with the radical Marxists that control the Democrat Party. You can join efforts with Democrats when there is opportunities to align to advance liberty. Yeah. I have literally joint authored bills with some of the most liberal Democrats in the House when I saw an opportunity to advance liberty. But it is not the same thing to say that, hey, we will pursue bipartisanship when there is alignment of interest for the future of Texas with, and the radical anti-Second Amendment, open border, BLM activist Democrats can be in charge of the Republican House of Representatives. We are the ones who are unifying. We are the ones who are being collaborative. We're the ones that travel around the state saying, liberty is unifying. Freedom, secure borders, our Constitution. The only people that are actually divisive in the Texas House are the failed liberal Republicans who are concerned, they're terrified about their coalition with the Democrats being threatened for the first time.
I think unity is cold comfort to voters who you can come back home to your district and say, yeah, I know we didn't get these things done, but we were really unified.
Yeah.
Right. What do they care?
But I made some friends.
Right.
100%. Well, I think it leads into the next
we
point.
had fun doing it.
Yeah, and it leads into the next point of what we're demanding is that we currently, speaking of far leftist Democrats, our parliamentarian was an Obama White House lawyer. I mean, and guess what? Guess who hired him? Dade Phelan, our current Speaker of the House. Why on earth, if you wanted to push a GOP-centric agenda and get our priorities across the finish line, would you appoint someone who is diametrically opposed to everything that we stand for. And so we found, even procedurally, it was difficult because anytime we would have a bill that would be strong, I mean, I'll give you an example of HB 20, which was our strongest, no matter what anyone says. SB 4 was not the strongest border bill we had. Yeah. It was HB 20 because it would have mobilized the Border Protection Unit, sending thousands to the border to secure our Texas border, which is the most important issue we're fighting today. And when that bill comes to the floor, all of a sudden, a far leftist Democrat calls a point of order, and our current Obama lawyer, parliamentarian appointed by Dade Phelan, rules that this point of order should be sustained. And what does Dade Phelan do? He turns around, says, yes, sir, and kills the only bill that truly gave us the best chance at securing the Texas border. This is insane. And so we want them removed. We want new parliamentarians.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I know we got to go to break, but tell me really quickly. So how many of you signed on to it originally?
There were 13 original signers, and then 10 more within 24 hours, and then 2 more. So I think we're up at 25 right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Power of persuasion.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, just put your name there. And if you're not willing to put your name there, you're just going on the record that you don't want to represent the grassroots. So good luck to you. Okay. All right. You guys hang out with me. I want to talk more. Let's talk about the Trump hush money trial that is starting today. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who you just live in constant pain. You think that that's the way that things are just going to be. Maybe you're like impatient with your spouse and your kids because you've just got that nagging pain all the time. What Relief Factor does is it's an all-natural anti-inflammatory. So it's not going to make you feel like loopy or anything like that. But it targets the inflammation in your body, which oftentimes is the root cause of your pain. You don't realize it. You're putting like a topical cream on it and you're like, wow, it feels cold and now it feels hot and that's awesome. And then it's gone in 10 minutes and you're in pain. Don't do that. Okay, try Relief Factor. They've got a 3-week quick start pack. 70% of the people who order that go on to keep ordering more. That's how many people it's working for. So the odds are in your favor. It's going to work for you. You can go to relieffactor.com to go get that. They've got a guarantee, so you have nothing to lose except your pain. Relieffactor.com. So former President Donald Trump's hush money court case kicked off today, of course, marking the first time a former president will stand trial over criminal charges. Now, I know we need a flow chart for which one this is. So I want to explain, I know, because they're going after him all sorts of ways. 91 indictments. Oh, my gosh, he could be a convicted felon. Yeah, because they're gaming the system. So this one, the hush money case, the trial's origins reach back to October of 2016 when Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, paid Stormy Daniels, the porn star, $130,000 to allegedly quiet her claims of this extramarital affair. And they were like, you didn't categorize that correctly in your business records. We're going after you. So totally bogus. And I want to play Donald Trump before the trial started this morning. This is Donald Trump speaking to the press. Watch.
This is an assault on America. Nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been anything like it. Every legal scholar said this case is nonsense. It should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve anything like this. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
So, Mitch, I'm going to go to you first as an attorney. Mm-hmm. Okay, 34 counts of falsifying business records. And I'm going to let you explain, okay, because I'm obviously not the attorney. But isn't this the one where they passed all sorts of like statute of limitations and now they're trying to turn a misdemeanor into a felony? Like there sounds like there's a bunch of really bad things with this one.
It's lawfare alphabet soup.
Yeah.
The 20,000 Chinese nationals that have come across our southern border are outraged at Donald Trump's conduct here, just as every American are you kidding me? This case is so stupid. Yeah. Okay, your listeners need to know and understand that the DOJ dropped this case. They said, we're not going to investigate it. The Federal Election Commission said, we're not going to investigate it. So if you just want to understand the basic mechanics of it, what Donald Trump would have been charged with is falsifying records, which in and of itself would have been a misdemeanor, having to deal with campaign finance. But somehow a prosecutor in New York State decided to try to compound this into a felony by saying he was falsifying records in order to conceal a crime. And it, of course, had to do with Stormy Daniels' payoff. I read something this morning that there's potentially a setup involving Cohen and Daniels, who may have been in a relationship. Okay. How tangled a web can we possibly weave here? I only say that about the 20,000 Chinese nationals to say, do Americans, Sarah, care about this case? Do they care? Because I'm looking at it going, the people in New York really live in a different reality tunnel than Brian and Nate and I live in. You go up there, they believe Donald Trump is an existential threat to humanity. It's not simply enough to defeat him at the ballot box. They must deprive him of his freedom. I don't understand it. I don't understand how much effort and money has been deployed into this. It seems to make no sense, and the American people don't seem to be terribly interested in it.
Yeah. Well, I would say only interested in it so far as to say this is BS and this cannot stand, because if you're going to do this to him, a former president, I would say you're going to do it to us, but they already are. They're raiding pro-life protesters' homes. They're trying to throw them in prison under the FACE Act. I mean, they are trying to do it to us. And, Donald Trump, I bring this up all the time because I think that it's just so worth mentioning as often as possible that he so infamously, I guess, said, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just standing in the way. And it's like every day that just proves to be more true.
Right. And when you're talking about, Mitch hit on some of the substance. You're talking about charges that are so flimsy that the Joe Biden Department of Justice said, I'm not sure we can get him on this. Okay. The Joe Biden Justice Department, that would do anything possible to put Trump in jail. Look the way they handled the ticky-tacky NARA claims and raiding his home at Mar-a-Lago over a dispute with the archivist. Okay. Right. But even set the merits aside for a second, flimsy as they absolutely are, this is absolutely, definitively, just another day and another life in the page of the Democrats' lawfare. The type of lawfare that threatens to pull our republic apart at the seams. Okay, and you've got this Democrat hack donor judge. Look at what he's doing. He's got a gag order on a former president. The former president and the leading contender to take back the White House. You put gag orders in criminal cases to protect the rights and the privacy of the accused, not to muzzle a former president and the chief political rival of the current president. And then this absurd things about saying you've got to be physically in court every day or we're going to throw you in jail. They will stop at nothing to stop Donald Trump from getting back to the White House. It is that type of tyrannical tyranny that, quite frankly, once we go down the road of criminalizing and imprisoning former leaders of our country and political rivals to the current party, it's hard to see how a republic can recover from this.
Yeah, Nate. It sounds a whole lot like election interference, which I'm told by the Democrats they really hate.
It's a very, very bad thing.
It's a threat. It's a threat to democracy. And yet here they are doing it every day.
Yeah, you know what? Brian said it best, and so did Mitch. Look, we're right on the target. And Donald Trump is right on the target. Yeah. You don't see this unless there's an actual threat. We say all the time, even in the Texas House, even on the federal level, listen, if they can't get you on the substance of the policy, if they can't attack you for what you actually did when you were in office, they will come after your character. The former president and future president is no different in this. They're attacking him in his character because they know that the American people are done with Bidenomics. The American people are done with policies that lead to record high inflation. Listen, we have a country that is ultimately failing. Only President Donald J. Trump could get up there and say, it's an honor. It's an honor to be standing here for the American people. And the American people love it. They love the confidence. They love where he's at. They love the reality that there is really no punch you can throw at Donald Trump he won't throw back.
To highlight your point, let me be absolutely clear about this. Contra to the media narrative right now. The Democrat Party in 2024 is the party of election interference. The Democrat Party is the party of voter suppression. They're trying to throw their political opposition in jail and in multiple states now trying to take the leading contender of the Republican Party off of the ballot. They're the party of election interference and of voter suppression.
Yeah, even when it comes to RFK Jr., right, who I know actually he'll be in this building later, but I don't agree with him on everything, but they're like denying him Secret Service. The guy and his family have a pretty long history of like needing protection, I would say. And they're denying him Secret Service protection. Why would you do that?
These are all novelties in modern America. And just stop and think for a second that there was $1.8 billion worth of ordnance fired from Iran at Israel over the weekend. Yeah. And somehow, Sarah, Stormy Daniels is a thing that we are talking about in 2024.
That's a great point. Yeah.
This is the levers of government have been used to abuse and abuse people all over the country. You're seeing it with Donald Trump. We see it in Texas. It's just at some point, virtuous people with the will of the voters on their mind have to gain control of the levers of government, or they will be used against us.
Yeah.
And to highlight that real quick, this is so critically important, Sarah, and I'm glad you said that, Mitch. We're watching with the Trump case, but with countless other examples. The Democrat Party will stop at absolutely nothing to win the battle for the future. They know that the next generation is on the line. They know that every freedom and liberty is up for grabs right now. Do you know who doesn't know that and who doesn't act like it? Elected Republicans. It is about time, and this is what I think this is what manifested itself, maybe more than anything else in last month's primaries, is voters in Texas understand the stakes that our state and our nation are in, and they are demanding, they deserve people who run for office with a Republican by their name to fight as hard for the future as do the Democrats.
I totally agree. All right. We got to take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Jace Medical, this segment. So Jace Medical is there for those of you. I don't know if you guys remember way back during the pandemic when there were just all of a sudden shortages for your medications, because it turns out a lot of them are made in China, which I'm not even going to get into the dangers of having your medication made in China. But the point is, you learned what it could be like, what life might be like with medication shortages. We're seeing it again here in 2024. As of March, there were more than 200 drug shortages here in this country. It could get worse before it gets better. So let me suggest to you, okay, get the Jace case. What the Jace case is they've got 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. So imagine that your child gets strep throat and they're all out of amoxicillin everywhere, right? What are you going to do? Get the Jace case. All you have to do is fill out a simple form online and you will have it there ready in case you need it. They've got a bunch of add-on options as well, so you can personalize it. They've got EpiPens. They've got ivermectin. Find what is right for your family. Customize it with the Jace case. And hey, get a gift card. If you guys have grown adult children with families of their own, get a gift card for them as well. You can go to jasemedical.com, enter code Sarah at checkout for a discount. It is jasemedical.com, promo code Sarah. We were talking earlier about how radical the left has gotten. And I want to play comedian Bill Maher, who was on his HBO show Real Time. And they're just saying the quiet parts out loud at this point. Here is Bill Maher on abortion.
Not if you believe it's murder. You know, that's why I don't understand the 15-week thing. Or the Trump's plan is, let's leave it to the states. You mean, so killing babies is okay in some states? Like, I can respect the absolutist position. I really can. I scold the left on when they say, oh, you know what? They just hate women. People who aren't pro-life, pro-choice. They don't hate women. They just made that up. They think it's murder. And it kind of is. I'm just okay with that. I am. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, we won't miss you. That's my position on it. What?
That's quite harsh, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not
Is
sure
that not your position if you're pro-choice?
Isn't that mainly because you don't like children? I mean,
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no. I mean, but if you are, you said you're pro-choice. That's your position too.
One of those moments where you're like, well, thank you for making my case for me, I guess. Clearly stunned. Everyone's stunned.
Shocking.
Thank you. Yes, correct. It is. If you're saying you're pro-choice, you are saying that you are pro-murder. It is one and the same. Thank you. Thank you for admitting that.
Spiritually grievous, honestly, to be able to watch that video and understand that, well, to say, as you said, to say the quiet part out loud. I mean, if you're going to admit that abortion is murder, can we also admit that gender modification is aggravated assault? Mm-hmm. Because these are both sanctity of life issues. Yes. And I think Bill Maher kind of intended to use this segment to own Trump, to say, hey, you don't believe in anything. But that piece of video, Sarah, is one of the most nihilistic things you will ever see on television. Yeah. And the awkward laughter is one of the saddest things that I think you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
It's very much more revealing about Bill Maher's position than it is about anyone else's. And the reality is that America is going to have to face this, and they're going to have to face it head on. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-life. I think everyone at this table is unapologetically pro-life. But looking at the issue from a national scope, it's very important that we recognize that we are winning on this issue. We saw a record overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was just one of the most miraculous things we have seen in this country.
Never thought it would happen.
And just for the record, I truly believe on a personal level, this is the hill we die on.
Yeah.
This is something that we cannot miss because ultimately, this is in our founding documents. The right to life. Are you kidding me? It absolutely is. You know, I propose that we make June month instead of Pride month being Unborn Visibility Month. Like we have to rename this and reframe it because the reality is that people, if they will face the truth that Bill Maher explicitly said, I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to vote against a proposition that would allow unborn life to truly be valued where it should be.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, it's so painful, like, to watch the clip. I think you can tell, like, that the producers didn't know whether to push the laugh button or the applause button. I mean, the guests on the set didn't know how to respond, or like, it's a comedy show, at least in theory, but he says something so egregious, like literally coming out and saying, just to be clear, my position, Bill Maher, is that I'm okay with some murder.
Right.
That's got a tough position to defend. Look, I make no bones about this. I'm extraordinarily proud to have had the honor of serving President Trump as his chief of staff at the United States Department of Health and Human Services, where we oversaw the boldest protections for the unborn in modern American history. I mean, we did something that Republican presidents previously had promised to do but not kept their word on. We defunded Planned Parenthood. First time that happened in 15 years. I personally was honored to be tasked with leading the rollout of that initiative. Now, of course, Joe Biden is doing everything he can to undo that. And even now that we're in a post-Dobbs world, he's trying to do everything completely illegally and unconstitutionally through my old agency, HHS, and the FDA. I just joined a brief on this to backdoor Dobbs through FDA deregulation. I mean, Joe Biden, nobody in the Biden administration believes in deregulating anything, except somehow they want to make abortion pills as easy to get as possible. So he's trying to renationalize the abortion issue and backdoor Dobbs. And it's one of the many reasons that I think states who believe in the 10th Amendment, who believe in federalism, who understand that the federal government is supposed to be a creation of and subservient to the wills of the sovereign states, lead by example. We shouldn't just be content to complain down here at Texas when Joe Biden does things that are wrong. We need to lead the charge against an out-of-control federal government, not just on the life issues, but on the full panoply of public policy issues that confront us. Otherwise, our kids are going to inherit a republic that where their freedoms and their liberties is something they just heard their grandparents talk about.
Right.
Amen.
Sara, did you? Okay. I'm sure you talked about some of the screeching from the right about Trump's comments about abortion.
I actually was gone when that happened.
Well,
so go ahead.
just as a Trump supporter, I look at the situation and I go, you can be upset about what he says, but you must admit, without Trump, there is no Dobbs.
Yes.
There is still abortion in Texas without Trump.
Right.
So you can say all the right things, but appoint Justice Roberts, Justice Souter, and not get the right result.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, so I want to play the MMA star. I don't know how to say his name. Do you guys know Renato Moicano, who just won over the weekend? Yes, nailed it. And here was here's a little clip from after his win. Watch.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and own guns. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School.
I'm going to jump in, Sarah. Just end the show there. We can't top that.
Freedom.
Super
I know. So based. It's always the immigrants who, or the visitors, or who actually come the right way, and they're like, I came here because America is supposed to be great. I love property. I love capitalism. I love freedom and liberty. We need more of those immigrants.
Yes. If that guy told me to read it, I would definitely read it.
I'm reading it now. I'm going home to read it right now. Thanks, you guys.
Get our colleagues in the House to read.